Good morning, I'm Miriam van Rijssen. I am a professor at Tilburg University and I'm proud to chair this press conference with Father Musi Zerai, here in the middle, a leader of Eritrean diaspora, Madame Her Excellency Zamina Malole from Uganda, the government of Uganda, and Commissioner on Equal Opportunities. Then there on my right is AbrahaleiTesfai and Merhawi Goitom, two refugees that recently have arrived through Libya. And the purpose of this conference is that we want to have a strong discussion on the EU policy to fight human trafficking. During these 2 days, the European Summit will discuss a 7-year package to finance human trafficking. We are here because we are victims of human trafficking. We want human trafficking to stop, but we do think that the EU proposals are not going to help fight human trafficking, but will actually facilitate human trafficking further. And this is something that is of very much concern. On this, I want to first give the floor to Father Musi for a short statement.
Yeah, thank you. This is our big concern because the actual restrictive policy of European Union and the bilateral agreements between some European country with Libya or even the Khartoum process is part of this externalization of the border and the criminalization of migrants and refugees. So this is not the way to fight against the trafficking, human trafficking, and even not only human trafficking, even organ trafficking, and a lot of violence and human rights violence in Libya, in Egypt, in Sudan, during his journey for our migrants and refugees. So the best way to fight against human trafficking is to open the legal access. That means with a resettlement program, with facilitate the family reunification visa and healthcare visa and scholarship. So we need to use all the legal way to give them welcome. At the same time, we need to have a strategy how to protect people near home. That is the second step. Means we need to create dignified life for these people near home. At least the 90% of the refugees is in Africa. He won't stay in Africa, but if we abandon these people in the refugees camp without any perspective for his future, the desperate condition, he push them, obligate them to try to find safety place and future in other place, but no any legal access. So most of these people is finally, we are pushing them by this restrictive policy in the hand of the traffickers. This is not the way to protect them, to fight against human trafficking. The third point is how to find long-term solution. The long-term solution is, that means we need to go at the root of the problem in the origin country, how to change the situation in the origin country to create for them peaceful and democratic condition to stay at home, to have a dignified life at home. That is long-term solution. We need to use all the instruments we have, diplomacy, economically, politically, all. But these 3 points is important to deal with the immigration issue, with the refugees issue, even to fight against human trafficking. Thank you.
Thank you, Father Musi Zerai. We feel that the policy to exclude the conversation with migrants and refugees is detrimental. We need to speak to those, especially those who are victims of human trafficking, in order to understand what is happening. And so the conference that we are opening here today is a conference where we who work with migrants and refugees talk to those who have come through this unspeakable experience. And therefore we have invited AbrahaleiTesfai to speak to his experience as he came all the way from Eritrea through Sudan and Libya and lives now in Italy in Europe. Abraham, the floor is yours.
Okay, my name is Abraham. I came from Eritrea. I have been in Libya. Also, I have been in an underground prison in Libya, and I know how it's so hard and so difficult Libya is for refugees and for everyone pass through Libya. We know it is so difficult, but we use that way to arrive in Europe because we don't have another way. And we don't have another choice to live in our country or on our continent to save. Once you arrive in Libya, you don't have any possibility because you cannot turn back because there is a big desert in between and also the sea. You just have to try to cross the Mediterranean Sea to arrive in Europe. Even though I suffer, I left a lot of friends in the way, but luckily I am arrived in Italy. I arrived in Italy, but at this time, even though this small chance to try to arrive in Europe is stopped because European Union financed to the Libyan customer to close the Mediterranean Sea and to send them back immigrants from the Mediterranean to Libya. And now many people are in Libya dying and abusing and selling like properties or goods, things like that. Many people, they call me from Libya and they ask me some assistance. Also, their parents from Europe, from America, they call me many times. Some of them, they told me they don't have any news about their parents. And most of them now they are under the traffickers, and the traffickers, they don't give news to their parents because they need more and more money. And I am here to be a testimony what I saw and what I hear every day. People are dying and their parents are crying for to their parents. European countries, they continue to push back to Libya, but the Libyan Coast Guard, they sell them to the traffickers, and they don't have any accountability. Once they send them back to Libya, there is no any accommodation or any security for those immigrants. And I know three days ago, for example, from one detention center, 5 Eritreans are sold by the police, and we don't know where are they now. We are waiting the news of these 5 Eritreans. These people, before they tried to cross the Mediterranean, but the Libyan Coast Guard, they stop them and they send them back to Libya, and they put them in the detention center, and they sell them from the detention center. This is what types of joking are doing among European Union and Libyan Coast Guard or Libyan government. And now we are really worried about those all people, close children, women and boys in Libya, and we are asking to evacuate to safe place from Libya. And we are asking all organizations, human rights organization, African Union, European Union, every organization to save this vulnerable people. Every day they are dying because no one go and save them. And also, as Bamuse says, the problem is, we know the main problem is the human rights abuse in our country. That's why we escape in winter. We go to the traffickers, and we need also a real solution in our country in order to save, in order to finish this irregular flows. And then here with me, Marhawi also, he recently arrived from Libya. He knows more than me what is happening in Libya now because he arrived recently. and we can hear his testimony also. But thank you for this opportunity, and I hope all together we can bring small solution for those people are waiting in Libya or somewhere. We don't have any force and any energy to continue their journey. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Abraham. And we will like to hear from Mahawi, if you can give him the chair. You can take your chair.
No, it's okay.
It's okay, sorry. Thank you so much for the testimony that you just gave. We know and we have evidence, so much evidence, that the situation in Libya is a death trap for tens of thousands of Eritreans and others from Africa. But the situation of the Eritreans is so hard because there is no way that they can go back to their country because of the situation in Eritrea. Mahawi, can I invite you to talk about your experience just having come from Libya, and thank you for being with us this morning. We're really grateful.
أنا شمي مرهون قيتهم يبان نا بليبيا زاد كل خاب كل تشهنا عصرت شوعات ورح سلسته مالت كورحي سلسته سقع ورحي شبشته تشهنا عصر شوعاتنا تحت سامسار ميرنا أب في سامسار مجمر أمس حالي إرتراون يرنا نسو تنصف.
My name is Marhawi. He also says I come from Eritrea. He was in Libya.
كورح سلسته
تشهنا
عصر شوعات.
Okay.
سقع ورحم الشمس لو دبعت سامسار ميرنا.
Okay, he was in Libya from February 2017 to May 2017 with an Eritrean traffickers in Libya.
داو يزبال سمسار ميرنا سناي بحر مسخف لنا جم بحر خسر لكم يلونا بنحد إيمان دبال ليبياوي بنا مالك. في إيمان زبال كا ناتو جنزب كا. أبتي 14 شهر تبيتم بنا.
They paid 4,500 euro to the Eritrean traffickers, and these traffickers deliver, how we call it, sell them to another Libyan traffickers.
نتي إيمان زبال مسابنا خا إيمان كاب بينكازي بجبسينا متسينا أنا جبسنا ويا عمتات كرنا مالتي خا بينكاز وسيلو إجلابي أمس حدفنا فرق سهرة خا كوفا بالله مالتي ما حد هلطة أنا سكون هين تايد أقدر تبنا صوم سلدي حولكم داويت تسلد حولكم ما بليعوي أنا خباكم سلدي ناي بحرين ناي سهرة مدير للبخ.
Okay. And this Libya guy, he took them and he stopped them in the middle of the desert, and he asked them money again because he says the Eritrean trafficker don't give me any money. That's why you have to pay again, and they stopped in the middle of the desert for 2 weeks. Yeah.
أبزخ بالنسبة للناس إيمان دبال مالتنا أنا بزح جنزب حاتتنا زي حاتتنا أنا لا عمنا وين ما جمرة ما بقص عصرت إيش حلو داري الناس.
The Libyan trafficker's name is Iman. He asked 10,000 for every individuals, and it was too much for them.
أبزنا زمس حاتتنا ولا حنتنا أنا وين قبرك أنا نسدراوين نجرنا مقدين كاب لمينا وكابة الكريستيانات سرقان خفيلو منا ده حركة عصرت إيش حلو العام ممكن أبز جزين ده خدنا خدنا.
And he says they told their parents to pay again, but already their parents they pay for them a lot of money. Even though they are poor, they collect money, they sell their properties to collect money. But again, $10,000 for their parents is too much. But they are continued asking money for their parents.
أبزنا زمس حاتتنا زنوبرم كافتم فرقم فرق جنزب زخوفوا لنا. أنا مش شاعر أسيجن زخونا ولا أنا يصير حاجة سلزينة برنا.
Some of them they pay half of this price, but he and another 7 person they are very poor. They cannot pay nothing, and they are still waiting.
نتم زخوفوا لنا بكم زوصلهم سجاز حاجة تفلتنا مالتي نتم شوعاتنا خاو حيزون بينكاز بحد جزء حيزنا بحرنا يورحي مهارم تنقلن.
He says for those who pay before he took them, and we don't know where he took them. Till now you don't have any news about them. But for this 7 people, they cannot pay this money. He took them in Gazi.
بينقازي ኣብ ሓደ ቦታ ዓፂና ከሎ ብድሕሪ 3 ቢንቃዚ ብፖሊስ ተታሒዝና ማለት እዩ ካብ ቢንቃዚ ምስተታሓዝና ንኣልቤዳ ዝበሃል ቤት ማእሰርቲ ትራንስፈር ኢሎም
Okay. After he tortured
torture.
After he tortured them and he tripped back them in Benghazi for 2 weeks, the police they came and they took them to another prison.
ኣብ ኣልቤዳ ሰሙን ምስተኣሰርና እቲ ኢማድዊን ፈሊጦ ከምዳ ፖሊስ ብዙሕ ቆፃና ይፍትን ነይሩ ከይኮነ ግን ሱዳናውያን ኣብኡ ድሓን ዝኾኑ ሰባት ፀኒሖምና ንሻሃዝ ዝበሃል ጨንፈር ናይ ቀይሕ መስቀል ነይሩ ኣብኡ ትራንስፈር ኢሎምና ማለት እዩ ኣብ ሻሃድ ካብ ወርሒ 6 ዕለት 29 ስጋዕ ወርሒ ሓደ መወዳእታ ዕለት 30 2018 ካብ ትሕቲ ቀይሕ መስቀል ሽሙ ቀይሕ መስቀል እምበር ኣብ ትሕቲ ፖሊስ ኢና ነርና ክበሃል ዝከኣል ሕማቕ ኣተሓዛ ካባና ውፅኡን ናቢኩም ደእተውም ሰባት ስጋ ሕጂ ዘይንፈልጦ ማለት ስራሕ ኢሎም ዝወስድዎ ማለት
Okay. From the prison, with the help of some Sudanese people, he went to the another detention center. This detention center, they say it is under the Red Cross, but he says even though we are under Red Cross, we were not safe, and they took people also from the center, and we don't know where they are now. But he stayed till May 2018, I think. So he stayed in the center in Libya.
after تحت يند نبرنا ማለት እዩ ሽሙ UN ዝበሃል ነበር ንሕና ዝኾነ ኣካልና UN ርኢና ይፈልና ብፖሊስና ንሕሎ ፖሊስ ከዓ ድላይ ዝገብሮም ነይሩ ብፍላይ ደቂ ኣንስትዮ ነይሮም ኣብ ዝኾነ ሰዓት ኣውፅኦም ዝዕምፅዎን ብነበሩም ዘይነበሩ ከም እሶም ከም ደስተኦም ገይሮም ዝፃወቱለን ኣሕዋትና ነይረን
Okay. He says we told us we are under the Red Cross protection, but we never see any organization with the Red Cross clothes or something like this. The police in the center, they do what they were like. They took the ladies and they put them, and they do what they are like.
ኣብዚ ግዜ ዝወላ ንዓና ንስራሕ ኢሎም ይውፅኡና ብሓራይልካ ተወፅኻ ፅቡቅ ተደይ ወፅኻ ግን ብሓይሊ ብበትሪ ብማሃረንቲ ይወፅኻ ኣውፅኦም ንስራሕ ኢሎም ንስራሕ ኣይኮኑ ዝወፅኡና ብገይሮም ተደይሎም ክሸጡኻ ወይ ከዓ ብናፃ ጉልበት የስርሑኻ ማለት እዩ
Okay.
ብከምኡ ወፂኦም ዘይተመርሱ ሃለዋቶም ዘይፈለጡ ሰባት ኣነስ ጋሕጅ ልካ ባና ምሳይ መዳእስትና ኣብቲ ገዛ ዝነበሩ ዝወፁ ማለት
The police, they took us for working also outside, but it's not always if they take you out to working, it's not means you have to work. Sometimes they sell you to the traffickers, and sometimes they sell you to the imprenditor, agricultural imprenditor or another organization. You are working for them as a slave, but the police, they receive money from this proprietary or from this rich people. But he knows I have bad experience because my friends, they go out with me for working, but we don't know yet where they are because the traffickers, they took them. I know a lot of experience also, like similar what he's nominated in what is the experience. He says even though we are under Red Cross protection, we are like a slave and we don't have any safety. And he remember a lot of friends. He lost his friends from the Red Cross Center also.
ኣብዝና ሸውዓተ ወርሒ ማእሰርቲ ቦታ ካብ ዕለታት ክልተ መዓልቲ OIM ዝበሃሉ መፅኦምና ኩነታትና ሓቲቶምና ቶም ቋንቋ ዝኽእሉ ተርጅማን ኮይኖም ትፀገምና ምስ ነበርዎም ንሳቶም ምስ ከዱ ስለምንታይ ከምዚ ጌርኩም ኢሎም ካብቲ ቦታ እውን ዝወስድዎም ሰባት ኣለው ማለት ክልተ ሰብ እንግሊሽ ዝኽእሉ ሓደ ዓረብ ዝተዛረቡ ማለት እዩ ኣብዚ ሕጂ ግዜ ትራብሎስ ኣለው ገለ ይሰምዕ ብጭቡጥ ግን ኣነ ኩነታቶም ኣይፈልጥን ነቶም ቋንቋ ዝኽእሉ ክዛረቡ ዝኾኑ ኣቐዲሞም ካብቲ ቦታ ይብልዎም ነይሮም ማለት እዩ
Okay. Once in a time, the IOM organizations, they came to the center to visit them, and two Eritrean people, they explained what is happening in the center. But after the IOM workers left the center, the police took these two Eritreans that they speak or they testimony about their situation, and he says we don't know where they are.
ኣተሓዛ ብጣዕሚ ሕማቕ እዩ እንዳ UN ዘይኮነ እንዳ ፖሊስ ቤት ማእሰርቲ እቲ ንሕና ብፍላይ ዝነበርናዮ ካብ ትራብሎስ ርሑቕ ስለዝነበረ ምስ ፍሩዳት ሰባት ኢና ተኣሲርና ነርና ዋርድያ የድልየካኒ ብካሜራ ኢኻ ትሕልፍ ብምሉእ ቤት ማእሰርቲ ካሜራ ተኣሰረ እዩ ማለት እዩ
Okay. He says there is no any security, even though we are under a Red Cross organization or something. We were in a prison with a criminal people that they make a criminal or something in Libya. It means it's a big prison. And he says anyhow, his experiences, even though under the UN, under the trafficker, under the smuggler, under the police in Libya, his experience is very hell counters and bad experience.
أو كلنا وين بسيل خنوم سأكون خلينا أنا في وبوت عند أولو زوم سبات نيرم نبيع بالمم نفولت أنا قريبنا دهرنا شو عطور هي حتى شات بالمغمرنا بعدة 3 أور حادة تشان 10 شو أنت ترابلس ترانسفير لهم مالتي ترابلس كاب شارع المطار باربوتا أو نيرم مالتي أبز بوتا ودك نشتري كتبعاتي بنزل سنة هنا بفلاي أنا يتم دك كتبعاتي زنبرنا كباب شو بشي ميتين خون أب حدا تعيش من
دي ما تشوفنا بزول أستاذ بيحبوا ما تشوفنا لهم
هو كون ترانسفير لهم أنا حاجة
good. Okay, good. He says, even though you are in the Red Cross Center, if you say the police, I can give you money, take me out, the police they can take you out and they send you where you need. But from that they transfer him to Tariq Matar, another detention center, and from there he's lucky he came to Belgium with a legal way, with a resettlement, and he's anyhow he's lucky.
مجمرة بناي طرابلس أو بناي طرابلس
أبترابلس الحين كانوا حتى يمكن شيء كانه الصراحة حاجة تمني لهم زي أنا تمر بعد كابترابلس ولا تليفون زي كمان تايو
أنا نحواتنا خبلوز دل مالتي ما حبر السبع عالم ولا حتى خجبر على الله ليبيا خازوخنا حق زولو عادي كنا زخونه سب كم رؤوس منبر كم حق زخي سبيل لما بفلا ليبياوان بفلا او اب هايمانوت توكل كدي تاطا متالو مالت بسنك هايمانوتهم ولم داي ان كله بسنك وقاتنا مسكل زولوهم دي ناغله اتفلا لنا هايمانوت زولون كبي تصاطن ادرعني زورو كاو غا نسرحن قال ندابلو خبيد نتاش ميچنكن قالن زولو زخونه محبرسب عالم قال فتح كابت زولو ناب زحاش هاغرات زولو ويكاناتهم فولي كامب جيرو اب حدا بوتا قبل نمبر عبدلي وغزا زعصوهم دلو خابعصو غزان كاب اندر محبرس العالم كل حدا غيرن كوصوهم اب دحان دخون بوتا قبلهم الا
Yeah, he says Libya is not a safe place, and the Libyan authority or the Libyan police, they don't follow the rule. They do what they are like. They do what they prefer. And he says now for the international organization, for the European Union, African Union, every organization, to be focused on them and to save them, because here in Libya, the police also they have bad judged based on their religion. He says for friends, some of them they have some tattoo, like cross tattoo or something like this. They abuse them and they make them in prison just because they are Christian or because they are different religion. He says it's better to evacuate them early or to create a detention center only for them, but with accountability, with legality, with a good control. He wished for his friends to be evacuated like him soon from Libya.
Thank you, Mehawi. Thank you, Abraham. What we are saying here at this panel is that human trafficking needs to be persecuted, not the victims of human trafficking, but those who facilitate the human trafficking. The European Union adopted a resolution together with the UN in which Libyan and Eritrean traffickers closely associated with top officials of the governments have been put under sanctions, and therefore we cannot understand why the European Union is now accepting that Eritrea, which is so closely associated with this human trafficking that we've just heard the witness account of, is that Eritrea is put in the chair of the Khartoum process. The financing of those that facilitate the human trafficking is a policy that cannot work. You cannot stop human trafficking by financing those that benefit from it. This policy is not efficient, and this policy is not going to work. And this policy causes incredible suffering, as we have just heard, but it also causes a situation where we are creating modern day slavery again on the African continent, and it is unacceptable that Europe should be associated with that. And there is an alternative, and with that I'd like to give the floor to Her Excellency Madame Malole from the government of Uganda, who will tell us about the other policies that Uganda is pursuing and which really gives us an alternative to the course that we are now running.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Professor Miriam. I'm humbled to be here in Brussels today to join you in this upcoming conference, which is looking and discussing the plight of the refugees, especially those from the Horn of Africa. Uganda has committed and also demonstrated very successful policies of the protection of refugees, and I think that is way back from 1942 by ratifying and signing some of these international conventions and protocols and treaties, which today have transited into their domestication by us mainstreaming issues of refugees even at the level of our national planning framework. Like our national development plan, the second development plan, has got a number of programs that have been mainstreamed, and I would say that actually today Uganda remains a fairly representative example of humanity at its best. And this is the kind of gospel that we want to preach to our brothers and sisters in the rest of the world, to say that if we have done some successful attempts towards having the refugees integrated in society, these have proved to be sustainable in so many ways, because as you are already aware that we have a number of new asylum seekers every other day who are arriving at our borders, but then our borders have been kept open to have these refugees come into the country, despite the fact that we are not the richest of economies on the globe, but we are doing this from a sustainable point of view. For example, like you requested, we have had the Settlement Transformation Agenda, that is the STA, which advocates for self-reliance and promotion of social development in the refugee areas, because we have the refugees arriving and then the host communities. So we have to look at how they are going to coexist, and then we shall not have issues of xenophobia, we shall not have issues of discrimination, we shall not have issues of human rights violation. So some of these have also been supported, and we've partnered with the UN to also come up with the refugee and host empowerment programs, which is popularly known as the REHOP framework, to leverage sustainable development and livelihood. But this is also after embracing the SDGs, because we are talking about leaving no one behind. So if we are hosting refugees, these also have to be part and parcel of the ongoing development processes, because the SDGs, if we all recall, put the people at the center, and these are people also trying to find a life and also live as dignified individuals. But to our surprise is that there are those countries that are still violating and abusing the rights of the refugees. And indeed, if we went back and reflected to look at what is the reason as Father Musi was emphasizing, we need to look at the core reasons as to why these people are leaving their countries, because these are programs that can be mainstreamed and can be practiced in the various countries. So our call to all the stakeholders in this discourse of refugee protection is to have those progressive policies. Like if the European Union is coming up with some progressive policies on migration, they have to ensure that these policies only talk to human rights. They need to be human rights laden, because if they are going to support some of these countries which are not ready to see and even protect the rights of the migrants and then the refugees, I think it may not only be counterproductive on their part, but also we shall continue having this vicious cycle where the people cannot get out of this kind of ill, inhuman, degrading treatment. So to us, what we want is that strong collaboration between the European Union and the African Union to actually come up with homegrown policies which are participatory, which are bringing the refugees to be part and parcel of the conversation, such that whatever they bring out that is for them, they also have to be part of the journey. Because when you listen to the testimonies, when you listen to them, I think you quickly come up with ideas on how now finally some of these frameworks are going to be implemented. We look forward to a fruitful conference, two-day conference, which is going to take place here in Brussels. And my humble appeal to all of us is to rethink of those ways which are going to be sustainable and also have long-lasting impact as far as the plight of the refugees, especially the refugees from Eritrea, given the kind of atrocities that have been that they have suffered over a long period of time. I thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Manuela. Just to conclude, there are three things that we are debating at this conference. First is that those who are refugees, who have fled atrocities at home, they are able to contribute to societies, and they need the protection of those societies to be able to make that contribution. And we ask from the European Union that it works with the African countries to achieve that. Second, the situation in Libya is a death trap, and what we need is that those people who are now trapped in Libya, who are being sold as slaves, that these are being evacuated, protected, and also resettled where possible and if necessary. And third, we ask that people are having a prospect of being able to go back to their home country. And for this it is necessary that the situation in Eritrea transforms and that the key conditions will be available for people to return home. This is currently not the case, and until that is the case, the leaders of Eritrea cannot be put in a position where they work with the European Union on human trafficking, where they themselves are facilitating the human trafficking. This has to stop. Thank you very much, all my panelists, for being here this morning. Thank you all for being here to listen to us. We thank you for that. And I think we can open up the panel for questions.
Perhaps you can outline the evidence that there is of the involvement of the Eritrean government in the trafficking.
Is there somebody from the panel who wants to open this question?
At least in the past we have a lot of testimony, even the special rapporteur for human rights from UN documented this in his final report, how part of this regime is involved in this facilitating illegal migration and human trafficking. We have a lot of testimony, people who say, I pay $7,000 in Asmara, and someone who organized for me all the trip, all my journey, and until I arrive in Europe. So that means someone from inside the country is involved in this human trafficking, smuggling, all this issue. So we have these evidences and testimonies who confirm this accusation.
Abraham?
Yeah, we know very well a lot of many official leaders are involved in human trafficking in Eritrea because some of them they sell fake documents in order to cross the border or to the control place, and some of them they use a government car to move from Asmara or some to cross the border. And we know also the Rashida is normal people among Eritrean and Sudan. This Rashida, they are involved in human traffickers, but we don't know, we never see the Eritrean authority to stop this Rashida's car, but we know they are involved in human traffickers, and most of those Rashida, they are the friends of the Eritrean officials, Tahlamanjus and other officials. They are their friends. We know they are involved in human traffickers because, for example, in Eritrea, no one can have more than 300 euro in his pocket, but many people they can have more than $10,000, $15,000 in their pocket. No, the government he controls very well the society. He controls every conversation, everything that. But when you pay $8,000, $7,000, $9,000 in Eritrea, they never control you. No, and we know they involved. And also we know they need to go out from Eritrea. That's why the government takes this or restricted policy over his people, military service, and all these mechanisms are the key to be press the young people and to be make them flee from the country. And they are all the actors of this. All we know. And even all the European organization, African organization, every organization, they know the system who is working for that. And we have the testimony, me and Marhawi, all we know who do these traffickers, and we know why they don't to stop this. If the military service, indefinite military service, left today, I'm sure many people they don't need to cross the border and they need to stay in Eritrea to start their life. But they don't stop this military service because they prefer to escape. They prefer we to leave our countries. And they are involved directly, indirectly in human traffickers. We have the testimony of all these things. Not only me, but many people also, they are working with the government. They confirm that the government officials are involved in human traffickers in Eritrea.
Thank you very much. The way in which this works is that in Eritrea, people are not able to move. The national service is by the UN described as a new form of modern-day slavery. And it sounds like a contradiction, because it sounds like if you have closed borders, then this should stop migration and this should stop human trafficking. But this is not how it actually works, because if you have closed borders in a situation where there is a complete impossibility to sustain your own life, people will pay whatever they can to get out. And the only way in which they get out is by paying those that are responsible for those closed borders. And we have described for a very long time, the UN, many of us in academia, that especially the border control military of Eritrea are involved in the human trafficking of people from Eritrea out of their own country. Then within the neighboring countries, such as Sudan, they are able to instruct those that are wanting to make profit from this trade to work with them, to organize the transportation, to do the bidding, to allow, to facilitate the protection of the human trafficking routes. So it then is the military and the intelligence within those countries that become involved in the trafficking. But it's very important that when we look at the persecution of human trafficking, that we look at the way in which that is organized from the top. In this book that we've published, we have identified a number of people that we believe are involved, are allegedly involved in organizing human trafficking from the top. 6 of those, 4 Libyans and 2 Eritreans, have in June been put under sanctions by the UN and by the European Union. So we know it's not only that we have documented it, the UN and the EU have accepted it. What we need is that this translates in different policies, in policies where we don't work with the human trafficking networks, but in policies where we persecute the human trafficking networks and where we work with the refugees to understand these modus operandi and to make sure that they are safe to tell their story.
In regards to the situation in Libya, the testimonies we hear and how you describe it sounds like an emergency situation. What is your key message to the European Union? What can they do in this situation today?
Okay, we can answer me, Abamuse, and also Marhawi. You know, now in France, some terrorist things are happening. No? People are dying these days, and all this mass media or all the world are speaking about what is happening in France because people are dying. But it's not the real solution, because the solution is to be stop be a terrorist. But for now, we have to speak about the dying people. The same in Libya, people are dying now. That's why we are speaking about them. But we know this is not the last solution. But now, for us, it's very important because we see people are dying every day. We see ladies are abused every day, and we ask urgently this European organization, especially for the European Union, to save this 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 immigrants are in risk